Good afternoon. My name is Gail Carr-Williams, and I'm from Vanderbilt University, and as always, I'm just excited about this partnership that we have with TPAC for Inside Out of the Lunchbox, and I'm glad you all are here on this fabulous summer day. It's like so warm outside today. It's great, and always happy that Kristen Horsley and I get to sort of bring this to you. We are anchoring down with Vandy today, okay? I'm so excited. It's our own Vanderbilt Theater Department. The chair of the Vanderbilt Theater Department, Leah Lowe, is going to moderate a conversation with Brian Granger, who is an artist in resident at Vanderbilt this year and the director of this absolutely amazing play that was written and directed by our own Vanderbilt students today. And our students are our treasure at Vanderbilt. And what a joy to be able to have them here with us today. So how about we all just anchor down, and we'll bring out the chair of our theater department, Leah Lowe, and make sure you read the bios of both of our presenters today. So welcome. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate all the time and all of the connections that you all bring to us in these programs. So thank you very much.
Thanks for that kind introduction, Gail. My name is Leah Lowe, and I am the chair of the Vanderbilt University Theater Department, and I'm so pleased to bring today a group of students who have written an original play called City of Songs, and you'll be seeing some scenes of it. And Dr. Brian Granger, our guest artist in residence, who is multi-talented, a playwright and a director. The way that this piece came into being was we produce about 4 plays each year. And this year we decided that it would be really interesting to work not only on producing scripted plays, but to actually develop one ourselves. And we decided to take for our kind of starting off place the Commons reading. Each year at Vanderbilt, the entire first-year class reads one book that they have in common. And this year it was a set of interconnected short stories called The Madonnas of Echo Park by Brando Skyhorse. And we decided to take that as our sort of jumping off place for developing a piece. The Madonnas of Echo Park is a novel that deals with a rapidly changing neighborhood in Los Angeles populated largely by Mexican immigrants and Mexican Americans. So Brian and his crew started with the ideas of the novel and created this original text, and I'm going to turn it over to Brian to tell you a little bit more and to introduce our student performers.
Thanks, Leah. Thank you all for having us here. It's great to be here. So when we had decided to work with this novel, or with the Commons reading, it hadn't been selected yet. And in my mind, I was thinking, well, if it was something classic, let's say, an Edgar Allan Poe story or something in the public domain, then great, we could take that text and adapt it. But because it was not in the public domain, we decided to just look at the themes that were in the novel and use the themes as our jumping off point. So it's not an adaptation of the Commons reading, it's a theatrical response to it that is more Nashville-centered and local in its origin, and helping to present this original idea is our amazing ensemble of writers and performers. And we don't have all of them with us today. As you guys know and can imagine, Vanderbilt students are very busy, and class schedules and tests being what they are, we could only assemble half of the cast here for you. But with us today is Chelsea Ankenbrandt, Stephanie Skinner, Harrison Kinham, Reagan Shea, and Katie Gillette. And so the first scene excerpt we'd like to present happens earlier on in the play and takes place within the main locale of the play setting, which is a restaurant, a fictional restaurant in East Nashville, run by an immigrant family. And so we have, you guys can come on out, we have the children of this immigrant family that own the restaurant. It's an Albanian family, and their 2 children. We track them through the play as they deal with the challenges of being the children of immigrants in a city like Nashville, and being young and having to deal with all of that that comes up.
Did you sweep the floor in the back room?
I'll get to it.
And the ice machine?
I'll load it in a minute.
And did you unpack that shipment that came in today?
That doesn't have to be done tonight.
It wouldn't hurt.
Neither would a break from all your nagging.
Have you seen the water bill this month? Have you seen our sales numbers this month? Have you solved our real estate crisis? Oh, you know, the one that will make us homeless.
Just have a little faith.
I have faith. I have faith in God. I wish I just had money. Napkins, please. And then get the silverware bundles ready before you go to bed.
Another chore? I have class,
Yes,
you know.
I know you have class tomorrow.
Oh, you remember that, do you?
Yes, I do. I have a lot to do, and forgive me if something slips out of my mind. But yes, at least I remember that.
And yet you're still giving me more to do.
Did you not just hear me? It's because we have
Yeah,
so
we
much
have
to do.
a store to run.
I have a store to run, and I need your help every once in a moon that has turned blue.
It's a blue moon, come on.
Okay, it is fancy college blue moon. I just need your help around here is
And
all.
I just need you to back off for just a second, okay?
We've had this restaurant for more than 4 years. We can make it an even 5 if you just...
Do everything you ask? God, why you're so...
Have you been making napkin art this whole time? We still have to mop the floors and wipe down the tables and chairs.
I'm doing what you asked. I'm folding napkins.
No, I told you to make the silverware bundles for the napkins, not make figurines out of them. Where is the silverware supposed to go?
I think they look better this way.
Aurora, you have to take this job seriously. No napkin art and no singing. That is not professional. I did not hire you to make napkin art and serenade our customers.
You didn't hire me at all. I'm your sister. Plus, what does it matter if I'm singing? There's no one in here anyway.
Stop wasting my time. I can always hire someone else.
Stop wasting your time. If anyone's time is being wasted here, it's mine. God knows I'm busy enough with school and the band. I don't have time for this.
Band? Did you just say you joined a band? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't prioritize this job at all. You don't prioritize this family at all. When are you going to start making us proud by working for a living instead of smashing guitars on a stage?
I do work hard. Don't you realize that? At school and in the band. Sorry, I don't want to run a pathetic little burger joint for the rest of my life.
You are ungrateful and selfish. I work like a whipped dog to make sure this family gets by. You should be thanking me for financing your college education.
There you go again, getting on your high horse, acting like you're saving us. You're so pretentious. The only thing you care about is this restaurant. It's like your little palace. You can be the Prince of Albania here.
Why would you invest precious time in this band? Just so everyone can know your name?
Because I love music and this is my dream. Don't you realize that? Sorry, I don't want to do things the traditional way, your way. We're not in Albania anymore. I can do whatever I want to do and I can become whomever I want to be.
Well, you're not going to make any money that way.
I don't have time for this.
Do not walk away from me. You will not leave this restaurant until you fold those napkins.
Fix them yourself.
Yeah.
End of scene.
Great. Brian, I wonder if you could speak a little to two aspects of the play that we just saw in that scene. One, how did you and the cast settle on an Albanian family? And two, what interested you about a restaurant setting?
Okay, those are excellent questions. Let me try to tackle the first. So we knew that in order to be recognizable as a response to the Madonnas of Echo Park, that we wanted to deal with the issue of immigration and immigrants and ethnicity, race on some level. So prior to auditions, I started jotting down a list of possible ethnicities that would be fun to stage. Knowing, of course, I had no idea who was going to come to auditions. I also knew that, for example, if I made some preemptory decision to, for example, have a Sudanese family, that might be a challenge in terms of the acting pool or even in terms of the actor's comfort playing a particular ethnicity. And that can be very delicate. I believe that an actor can play anything a white actor can play a black character and vice versa, but the actor has to feel comfortable with that choice, right? So we had auditions and we got together and we started the writing process. And early on, there was an interest in possibly having some Muslim characters in the play. And one night after we had a talk, I think this was after our first sort of official writing workshop, I went home and I just started Googling sort of Muslim countries and thinking about choices that might really work and be interesting. In my mind, I was thinking of Turkey and Egypt because I have some Egyptian members in my family, and I know that in those countries there are Muslim populations, there are, Coptic, Orthodox Christian populations, and I also liked the idea of choosing an immigrant family where the choice of what religion they are could emerge out of the actor's own comfort. I didn't want to go with something that would so obviously decide that for them, because that also might be a comfort issue for the actors. Someone might not feel comfortable writing that character.
Right.
And so I wanted to leave it open-ended, and in my research I discovered all this interesting stuff about Albania, which I hadn't known. I discovered that it is the only predominantly Muslim, sort of Caucasian raced Muslim country in Europe, and that was interesting to me, especially because the majority of our cast that we had found through auditions were Caucasian. And I just thought, we do have a multiracial cast, but I just thought that was an interesting choice. And also, in learning about Albania, I learned that they have a very particular and unique religious history that is also very diverse. So there's Jewish population in Albania, there's Orthodox Christian population, and then of course there's this majority Muslim population. And I just thought by choosing that as the ethnicity, and we had talked about it and we had floated potential other ideas like Turkey and some of these other, we had a short list of other nations, but it just seemed that it was right with possibility.
Great. And what about the restaurant?
The restaurant came about because there's no real central restaurant in the Madonnas of Echo Park. That's more our original take. When we had our first cast meeting, we met at Panera Bread. I think maybe that's what, as I'm thinking about it now, we were eating a lot of food at the Panera Bread over on 21st, and that was the site of our first cast meeting. And food just seemed to be really an important part of not just the life of a college student. College students love food. But Nashville seems to be very proud and invested in its food culture. And it's got a very diverse culture, things from, forgive me the name, the brand of the flour that originated here. There's a famous national brand of flour. There's Goo Goo clusters. There's lots of really cool stuff.
Martha White flour.
White, thank you. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was interesting in that scene, we start seeing a little bit about a clash between a traditional perspective and a more American generation, between the brother and the sister. And I'm curious about, we're living in a city that is changing so rapidly, right? New construction going up, new restaurants opening, 83 people move to Nashville every day. So I'm wondering, was that something that you really wanted to explore, that idea between a kind of old tradition and influx of the new?
I think so. I think that'll be a good question to return to in a little while when we talk with the cast. That specifically wasn't a theme that was foremost in my mind, but I think it comes through a lot of the research that we found and shared with each other. And I think it's probably a true statement of most or all immigrant communities that's a central battle, right? Between, what do we hold on to, what do we set aside, what do we prioritize as we're trying to define ourselves as this hyphenated American.
Great. Got another scene for us?
Yes. So this happens later in the play. There's a little bit of a spoiler, so I apologize in advance because it's happening later in the play. But one of the things that's really interesting about Madonnas of Echo Park is this sort of dance that Skyhorse sets up between the relationships of the various characters. So as a reader, you discern connections between characters that the characters themselves might not be aware of. So this idea of relationships and the layers of relationships became very interesting to us. One of the things that happened early on in the process is that the cast said as a group, we like this immigrant family, but we don't want that to be the only relationship. We want more relationships. And another thing that happened was the emergence of romantic storylines, because plays should have romance, right? So, and that was all stuff that the students brought to the table. So this scene is a scene that depicts the emergence of one of the romantic relationships in the play, and it's also set in the restaurant.
Sky?
Hey, Aurora. I wanted to talk to you.
To me.
Yeah.
Look, if this is about the band...
No, it's not about that. Well, I guess it is, but... Look, I don't think we've been talking about this in the right way.
Maybe it's for the better. I have so many things I need to work on, and my parents are going to be pissed if I don't finish these receipts.
Can we please just... Can we talk outside for a second?
Fatos, I'm going outside for a second, okay? Didn't want to give him a chance to come out and try to take your order.
I'm not here to see him.
Well, that's a first. Seems like everything's about him these days. He should have his own show. Everybody loves Fatos.
I'm not really inclined that way.
What?
What? Oh, nothing. Look, Aurora, I'm here to apologize. I'm really sorry.
You really don't need... It's not a big deal.
But it is, though. I've been generating a lot of negative energy over these past few weeks. I guess I'm not used to someone being better at all of this than I am.
Better at what?
I don't know, at music, at writing, at alterna pop.
I'm not better, I'm just different.
But that's the point. Better is different for us right now. I just didn't see that. I guess I didn't want to see that.
I don't know, I was kind of a jerk about all of that.
But you saved us. Without you, we were getting nowhere.
If we're going to talk about saving, you guys gave me something I'd wanted for forever without even knowing it.
What's that?
A chance. A chance to do something big. To be something more than just a cashier for the rest of my life.
You mean like your brother?
Well, that's just it. I'm not like my brother. Fatos is a restaurant virtuoso. This is his world. Just like music is my world.
My mom, she loved music too, just like we do. She could sing. She slayed on the bass. The only difference was that she never got a chance. When I was born, she gave up all of it for me. She locked away her records, put her guitar in the basement, and picked up the booze instead. Pretty soon, that was all that she had left.
That sucks.
We all have to choose our own path. And that is what I'm going to do from now on. I am visualizing our success and making it my reality. It would mean a lot to rebel, to cruise, and to me if you would come back to the band. I mean, this is a show at the Ryman. It's the biggest chance any of us are ever going to get.
So when's our dress rehearsal?
Tomorrow, 4 o'clock.
I'll be there.
Aurora, where are you off to this time? Come help your brother unload the dishwasher.
Crap, that's my mom. I gotta go.
Aurora, Asia Cantu.
End of scene.
So Brian, Aurora is the daughter of the immigrant family in the play, but
Yes.
can you talk to me a little bit about the character that Chelsea plays and where she comes from, and then also about music in the play?
Okay. So Chelsea plays the character Sky, who is one of the members of our resident band in the play. They call themselves alterna pop. That's their genre that they've invented for themselves. And they're a Nashville band called Rebel Child. And at the top of the play, they reveal that they've lost their lead singer. And so that's how Aurora becomes involved with them as a singer in the band. And then from that, this sort of conflicts and relationships develop between Aurora and Sky. Sky is sort of the resident songwriter of the band. And one of the things that we discover in the play is that Aurora also has songwriting talent. So that becomes their initial sort of point of conflict. We really loved the idea of music with a title like City of Songs. We couldn't escape the fact that we wanted to have music in it. We knew that the production was going to be fairly spare, and you'll see that if you come see the show, that it's not a very tech-heavy show. We don't have an orchestra pit. We don't have an onstage band. Our musical choices are fairly simple, but we all wanted music to be a part of this play. So we conceived it as a play with music. It's not a musical, because, and by that I mean that a musical, my definition that I'll give to you, is a theatrical production in which music carries the telling of the story, that it's really important. So music theater, opera, to Broadway musicals, the music is essential to the storytelling. Music is not essential to the storytelling for our play, but it's very, very much an enhancement, and we just love that it's there.
How did you approach writing the music? Did everybody take part in writing the songs, or how did that happen?
That was just part of the organic process. So at our original first cast meeting at Panera, while we're all kind of munching on, baguettes and enjoying each other's company, one of the questions that came forward was, does everyone have to write a song? Because I don't kind of know how to do that. It was, some of the cast members felt that. Other cast members had experience songwriting, and others had no experience but really wanted to try their hand at lyrics to music someone else had written. So we let it be organic. I certainly didn't want to push anyone in the cast to go through the stress that is songwriting without, if they didn't want to. So really, all of the parts of the play came about. We would have these workshop meetings where we would gather together around a conference table, and in our case, it was technically the drafting tables at Vanderbilt, and people would just say, oh, you know what would be great? If we had a song here and this character sang it. And they would just kind of assign themselves, or someone across the table would say, oh, can I work on that too? And it was a really beautifully collaborative, just kind of organic process.
And does the way that the songs came into being, does that sort of echo the way that you all wrote the play as well? Was it people taking turns at different scenes, or how did that work?
I'd say very much so. I think that in terms of the initial drafts of the songs, there were fewer cast members who were trying their hand at music than there were cast members who were trying their hand at scenes. But what ended up happening, of course, because this is a collaboration, is that over the course of rehearsing the songs and testing them out on each other, cast members would have their input, suggest word changes here, line changes here, chord changes, harmonies, arrangements would sort of develop organically. So at the end of the day, or at the end of the week, we essentially all are kind of putting our fingers in everyone else's stuff. Yogurt. I was trying to think of a good Albanian reference. But
Yeah. Yogurt. Okay. And so did you tell me about, and we'll talk with the cast about this a little bit later, but the process of writing an original piece. How did you just go about the mechanics of, you had these ideas, but the mechanics of just starting to get words down on paper? What was that process like?
Basically, at that first cast meeting, I explained that I wanted us to start meeting right away as a kind of workshop collective. So we would meet for a couple of hours, sometimes 4 hours. These sessions would get kind of long, and we would sit together and we would write, and we would go home and write, and then in the next session, people would bring in things that they had written. We would read it out loud, just cold reading around the table, sharing it. There were plenty of things that were written that didn't make it into this version of the show. They were cut, either because they weren't working or because as the play was taking its form, we realized that it wasn't helping to clearly tell the story we were trying to now tell. So it's really just been this process.
Great. Are you going to sing a song for us?
We will sing one song from the show, yes.
And can you set it up for us, where we are?
You guys come have a seat. So this is one of the band rehearsal scenes. So we have, of course, music is what our town is all about. And so we have the band, so we couldn't not have a moment where we see the band being a band, arguing and coming up with interesting ideas. In this particular scene, I'm not in the play, but one of our cast members could not come because of a test. So I am going to just stand in for him and kind of cheat with my script here. But this is a scene early on in the play, and I'll read the little stage directions here. The band members sit in frustration in the rehearsal room. There's a drum seat, a mic stand, an acoustic guitar that my character has, and a small keyboard. Sky sits at the keyboard writing music. Cruz is tuning his guitar and goofing off, so you hear this noodling right at the beginning of the scene. Rebel is checking her watch and getting more and more wound up. Aurora rushes in, and she's late to this band rehearsal. So there's a bit of scene, and then later in that scene, we have this moment. I worked on something last night. Can I share it with you guys?
Yeah, of course. What's the new song, Cruz? You're on fire.
I have a new song too, guys. It's not quite done yet, but it'll be really good.
We're listening to Cruz tell us about his song right now, Sky.
I was inspired by you, Aurora. Well, by your family's restaurant. It's kind of like a tribute song.
A song about Burger Bomb? I'm not sure I want to hear it.
Right?
No, I'm just kidding. Let's hear it.
Well, cool. It has a chorus that repeats and stuff, so, feel free to harmonize on top of me.
Gross.
Shh. What? When you need a piece of meat, take your butt right down the street, roll it into Burger Bomb. When you need something cooked fresh to put in your sack of flesh, come on into Burger Bomb. At Burger Bomb, we drop it all on you. All across America, bigger is better, Burger Bomb. At Burger Bomb, come grab a pound or two. All across the planet,
here at Burger Bomb. When you need something unique, not quite Arabic or Greek, travel here to Burger Bomb. At Burger Bomb, you can't resist our grill. No place in America will be without a burger. It's Burger Bomb at Burger Bomb. It's feasting overkill. There's no place on planet Earth where it won't hit you, Burger Bomb. We want to destroy your consumer tendency to doubt. With us you'll enjoy more of the pleasures one can find when dining out, dining out, dining out. Hunger will taste salty.
Find your meal at Burger Bomb.
With burgers, dreams can come
fast,
true.
but you have to last. Solve it all at Burger Bomb.
At Burger, at Burger, at Burger Bomb.
Yes.
Good job,
Oh, my
you
stars,
guys.
Cruz, I love it.
Do you really?
I mean, it's not a serious song, but it's really cute.
Guys, I had an idea. We could totally use this song to plug our show at the Ryman and at the same time help out my family. You know how I was talking about how we're trying to save all this money to save the restaurant? So, I don't know, what if we, got a radio station to play the song?
Like a commercial.
Yeah, this could be epic.
A catching like this will generate a ton of publicity for your family's restaurant, Aurora, and every person who walks in that door is a potential ticket buyer for our Ryman concert. It's perfect.
I don't know, guys. We should just look at all the angles first.
What? No, we should move on this like lightning. I know one of the DJs at Campus Radio. He owes me. I can totally get him to play it on the station.
But we don't even have it recorded yet.
So we record it there, easy breezy.
Simple and over.
What?
I'm sorry, I can't believe I just turned into my brother for a second.
Speaking of, you think your brother will like the song?
I don't know, but my parents will love it.
End of scene.
So I've had that song stuck in my head for about 3 weeks now, ever since I first saw it, and it makes me hungry. So I'd love to ask the cast a little bit about their experiences in working on this piece. So you guys, you want to come down a little bit? Yeah, come on. Come on over.
Musical chairs.
So this is a very different experience than you get cast in a play, you learn your lines, you learn the blocking, and then you perform it, right? I'm wondering what have been sort of the most rewarding parts of this experience, and what were some of the things maybe that you didn't expect for creating a play?
Yeah, I'll go. Hi guys, I'm Harrison. I play Fatos in the play, who is the older brother of the family in the restaurant. And one thing that I think is really cool about this is that, first of all, as far as I know, I don't think VUT, Vanderbilt University Theater, the theater department at Vandy has done really anything like this. It's kind of cool to be, embarking on uncharted territory. For me personally, I think one of the most awesome things is that we honestly wrote a show from scratch in 2 months. I think that in and of itself is just like, all right, we can check that one off the bucket list, And the other thing is this is a really young cast in one of the best ways possible. I mean, we have some people that haven't done VUT shows before at all. We have some freshmen. It's a really new batch of talent, and they brought a lot of great ideas to the table. It's been really cool to see the rehearsal process as well, how that shakes down, because again, I mean, this is uncharted territory. We were able to, formulate a lot of this ourselves, and it's a lot. It's not like a normal tech week in that you're you're just like going through the motions and making sure everything's ready. I mean, we're still tweaking things here and there. I mean, everything's a work in progress because this is a work. I mean, we're writing it ourselves. So in that sense, it's been really busy, but a rewarding kind of busy because we have something to show for it when all's said and done. So
Cool. Yeah.
All right. Hi guys, I'm Katie. You just saw me as Rebel, and I play a variety of other characters in the show, so you'll see me a lot. And for me, one of the most rewarding parts of the process was, I think when we were about a week out from finishing the writing process, because we wrote up until kind of our fall break, which was in the middle of, was that October?
October, yeah.
That feels like a really long time ago. It's been like 2 weeks. But, as we kind of finished up our writing process, we got to the point where the entire cast was very much in sync with each other, and we'd be sitting around the drafting room table having these meetings and just bouncing ideas off of each other, and every single person was on the same page, kind of tapping into this same collective consciousness about the characters and what we wanted this show to be about and the ideas that we wanted to bring to the light and showcase. So that was just really cool to connect to people through theater in a kind of non-traditional way, because as an actor, you're used to connecting with your audience and looking for ways to bring your audience into the show and to connect them to those themes. But it was cool to do it from the other side of the process and to find that same connection between people who aren't necessarily viewing the show, but who are co-creating it with you. And then the other really amazing process was just learning from all these fabulous people. Harrison and I wrote a song together, which was so cool, because I've done a little bit of like dabbling in music, but Harrison has done a lot of dabbling and is very talented. It was just really cool to sit there and have him be like, yeah, do this, do that. And I was like, whoa, I'm learning things and we're working together. This is so cool. So yeah, just to get to learn from all these very wise people who seem like they have their lives together. I admire them very much. Nope, wise. You do.
we're at Vandy. None of us have our lives together.
I wonder if you guys could talk a little bit about your perceptions of the writing process. Like, did you guys, so you assigned scenes, each person had scenes to work on, and did you guys do research as well? What was your experience with that?
I can try to take this one. Okay. I'm Stephanie. I play Rowena Ferrari, the mother in the Albanian family. So playwriting is something I actually want to do, like long term. So this has been a really great experience for me to, just learn about the process and everything like that. I don't know how much I could speak to the research element. I think the extent of my research was that when I was writing the scene you just watched with Sky and Aurora, I had to look up the Albanian words for "come here" for my character to yell, which is "Eja Ketu," apparently. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone in the show wrote something for the play, which is kind of amazing because in addition to us acting, we're all bringing like our voices to it in a different way. We're bringing it into the writing process. We worked on songs as well. I thought it was a really great experience because I've never been able to be a part of a collaborative writing process before, and it's so different, but in the best possible way, because instead of this echo chamber inside of your own head, you have people actually giving you input and telling you like when your lines kind of suck or when they're great, and that, I mean, I think I speak for everyone when I say it's been really rewarding for me to work with people who have such brilliant ideas and have so much knowledge about, I don't know, we learned so much about Albanian culture through this process. It's been pretty amazing. So really grateful. Does anyone else?
And I'll speak to that as well. I really didn't know what to expect of the collaborative writing process, and so I really liked the way that it turned out. So we basically came up with what we wanted the general plot to be at those large group meetings, and then kind of divvied up the scenes based on just who wanted to write which scenes. But then it really did end up being more collaborative than just assigning people scenes to write. So, for instance, the argument scene between me and Fatos, I wrote part of that scene, and then it got expanded, and so other people added in lines and developed the scene a little bit more. So it was really neat I think that's a great example of the collaborative process, because it started from me writing a scene by myself, but then everyone ended up having their own little thing to add to that scene as well.
And one more little add-on here. We're tossing the word, collaboration around a lot here. And for me, the definition of that is, for example, there are other groups on campus that I've been involved with that have done something like this. I'm a member of the original cast, which does musical reviews, but that's just a director and a producer formulating their show idea and passing it down onto their cast. It's still a hierarchical was that a word? I hope that was a word. Structure. So this time around, it's not just like somebody telling you what to do with your character. I mean, for example, I wrote a lot of Fatos' scenes, but a lot of times I would request to write something on Aurora's side to get to the other side of a character. It's really awesome because this type of collaboration, you get to go at all angles with this play. You don't just concentrate on your little home and your little character. It's not a place, I know this is weird to say, but like in terms of an artistic process, it's not a place to feel safe. We really went out there. We really, went at this from all different perspectives. And it's really cool to get at different sides of your own artistic process as an actor, what you're comfortable with, and as a writer, which is something new to a lot of us. It's really cool. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up collaboration, Harrison, because I wanted to ask about this. And I think these good people will be happy for you to answer this honestly, but collaboration is difficult, right? Because you don't always end up getting your way at all, right? And you really have to listen to other people, and you have to stay flexible and open, and be willing to kind of change your mind and change directions. Was that frustrating? I mean, what were the frustrations of the process? Or were there frustrations, and how did you sort of get past them?
Go for it.
Anyone want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. No, I'll go for it. Yeah, there are absolutely frustrations that come with any show. And like I said, we were busy. They were heightened in this show. Specifically, one, because of collaboration. Yeah, this is a constantly changing script. Some things got cut. We did actually a very smart thing, which was we just put it all out on the table. We had a more than 2-hour show, like when we wrote the entire script, and then we cut it down to a very manageable one, like no intermission, one totally go-through show. It's less than 2 hours now, and that's a very good thing to do instead of instead of adding as you go along. So that was smart, but in a sense, of course, there's going to be disappointment when your scene is cut and whatnot. But it was always talked about. There was nothing where somebody was like, I want this. This is absolutely how it has to be. We examined everything from the logistics of the scene, how a scene flows, to the actual character development itself. We really went at it from all angles, and for the most part, it was a group effort in terms of the collaboration part. The frustration, I think, for a lot of us would be, like I keep saying, that we're so busy because this was just a lot to tackle. Getting closer to Tech Week, with other shows when you're just memorizing lines for a script instead of also writing them, it's a little smoother going up to Tech Week. And so I think there is a sense of being overwhelmed. That is something I think the most frustration that stems from a collaboration. But at the same time as being overwhelmed, there's also a counterbalance of feeling rewarded. It's hard work that's paid off. In that sense, hopefully people come see it, and it does pay off in that sense. But everything has a balance, and I think that any frustrations, even if they were amplified because of the nature of the show, as opposed to other shows, the benefits were also amplified because of the nature of it. Yeah.
It's been
Well, I just wanted to jump in with two quick things. One is that in terms of what Harrison is saying about being overwhelmed, that was something that as the director and their sort of coach, I could kind of see everyone expressed that at some point, the frustration of feeling overwhelmed. And I did too, and part of that, I think honestly, just has to do with the fact that we're human and we're artists, and often, I'm gonna say this and I hope it makes sense, a lot of times you need your own particular time to process something. Mm-hmm. But if you're in a collaboration and someone is standing there and making a suggestion of a change, that sometimes actually creates frustration, right? Because it's like, well, in this moment, as an artist, I need time to process this thing that you're asking us to do, and the other person might be already over it, right? Lots of interesting frustrations coming out about that, about just the energy and where everyone is on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. But there's a quick anecdote that I want to mention. From my frustration, early on in the process, there was a character that I had not created, but that I had written a scene for. And I thought it would be cool if she was a ghost. And so I brought this scene in, and she's a ghost, and the cast members right away weren't immediately in love with it. It's a funny scene, but one of the things that happened when we were discussing is that some of the cast members were saying, okay, why is there a ghost in this play? And honestly, like my reaction in that moment was like, because ghosts are cool and fun to have, and why every play should have a ghost. I don't know, you know? So I had to actually embrace the spirit of collaboration in terms of the humility that's required and put my own ego in check, because I personally really liked this ghost scene, and I had to just let that go and cut it, because it actually wasn't, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't helping to clarify the story we were telling, which is the important thing. But I think that's, you know, it was important for me as sort of the coach and the director to also be following by example, right? That it couldn't just be about what I wanted in the play. It really needed to be this conversation that we had from day one and that we continued to have.
The next play that we do, Brian, will have a ghost. I don't want to dwell on frustrations, because actually one of the funniest things about this play is over the last 3 or 4 days, I've been sticking my head in at rehearsal and watching, you know, not the whole rehearsal, but little bits of it. And I've seen several times when there's needed to be a choice about a light cue or about a piece of stage movement or something. I've seen you guys all sort of huddle together and like do a collective decision-making process, which has been really, really wonderful to watch and sort of fun to see. I want to ask a question about the transition from moving from writing a play to staging and acting in a play. What was that like? Yeah?
Well, for one thing, it was super weird, because we spent 2 months sitting in a very small room, all crammed in there together, and then all of a sudden we were down on the theater floor, and we were standing around and trying to move things, and I was like, I didn't even know exactly what the script looked like at that point, because it changed significantly over one portion of a week that I was very overwhelmed with things not related to the play. So I'd contributed a lot of material, but then had to step back a bit during the editing process. So I came back in and I'm like, whoa, what even is this? So just kind of finding your way into your own personal character, and also, I guess, just finding ways to bring the ideas to life physically and letting go of the fact that you can't necessarily change things anymore. That at this point, you have to make choices and commit to them rather than just be trying out every little thing. Because during the writing process, Brian was really big on encouraging us to do whatever crazy stuff we wanted to do with the show and take it in whatever direction we saw it going, and it didn't have to stay that way. It was just a jumping off point creatively to see what we could create. And then as we got into the rehearsal process, we had to start making very permanent choices. And that was a weird transition, because you had to think things through much more carefully. And it wasn't just like, oh, let's try it and see what happens. Because now you're working with limited time, and you can't just rehearse a scene over and over again until you stumble upon what feels correct. So that was definitely a weird switch.
Yeah, I'm Chelsea. I play Sky. I would definitely agree with that. And I think that also kind of the shorter rehearsal time that we had for this show. I don't think anyone had scripts in hand until 3 weeks before opening or something like that. Of course, they had worked on it before and kind of knew the words, but also it's just kind of a very condensed process. So all of the playing around with characters had to happen in the writing process, and it was like very much so, okay, let's learn our lines, let's rehearse it, let's get this done. And I also think that the balance between, you know, being a co-creator and being an actor, those are very different kind of roles to be in, because in a co-creator role, everyone has equal say. Whereas in an acting role, there needs to be someone to make the tough decisions when we're 3 weeks out from a show saying, okay, are we gonna cut the lights now? Are we gonna, you know, let everyone walk out and have this moment? Kind of that kind of thing. So, but I think everyone shifted pretty well from the co-creator having equal say to being more of an actor, just focusing on your performance and letting the greater decisions being made by Brian, of course.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. And like my take on that is we have to wear a lot of different hats in this. Like we have our actor hat, and then we have like our, you know, our collaboration hat where we're like, okay, the scene isn't working for what reason. For example, I mean, like, you know, we divvied up a lot of things. Like if there was a song I wrote and we're rehearsing it, you know, here during Tech Week, and like the cutoffs aren't there during our run, you know, when we're doing notes at the end, I'll have to be like, you know, hey guys, okay, really quick for my song, like do this and blah, blah, blah. And even though I'm a member of the cast, it's just like, boom, put on that hat, do what you got to do to, you know, make things get done. And I mean, Brian is our director, but he has a bunch of stuff to worry about, and obviously, and in that sense, like it's been awesome that he's let us step up to the plate where needed, and put on our own little directing hats from time to time in order to do what needs to be done. Yeah.
And I will say that one of the nice things about writing your own play is that you have complete creative control. So if something really doesn't work and you have to make a change, you can totally do that. And it's definitely legal because you wrote your own play.
We have the copyright, yes.
That's also, it's so cool. Our script says across the top, like, copyright Katie Gillette, Reagan Shea, Stephanie Skinner, Harrison Kenham, Chelsea Ankenbrandt, on and so on and so forth. I'm like, wow, I feel really cool.
Like, there's something so incredibly magical about like writing something, creating something, and it's all on paper, it's all on your computer screen, and then whoosh, like it's there, it's on the stage, and like that was it, like an incredible moment. Like I mean, obviously the early days of rehearsal were not the smoothest, but still just like looking out there and like seeing like people perform something that up until now only existed, in our collective consciousness, so to speak. It's really amazing, and I just like it's been really great.
Cool, and you have a production now. I mean, amazing. This was just not even anything 2 months ago, and now you've got a production. So I'm going to ask you one more question, and I'm going to give these good people some information about when and where the play is. So let me ask the question first so that everybody has time to think of it, which is, what is one piece of advice that you would give people who were embarking on something like this, on collaboratively creating a play, either from acting, directing, writing, from any perspective at all? And while y'all are thinking about that, the play is going to be at Vanderbilt's Neely Auditorium. It opens tomorrow night. It runs tomorrow night, Saturday night, and then Thursday the 12th through Saturday the 14th at 8, and Sunday, November 8th at 2. The tickets are cheap, they're $10, and they can be reserved through the Vanderbilt University Theater Department's webpage or by calling Surratt Box Office. And I believe we have someone taking reservations outside for a few minutes after today's gathering, if you're interested in that. So, one piece of advice. We'll start maybe with Katie down at the end. Is that okay?
Wow, okay. I think the biggest thing I take away from this project is that you just have to be patient and loving as much as you can towards your fellow cast members and creators, because this is not the first time that I've been involved with original theater. I did some stuff over the summer, but in that role, I was very much more of a leader of the project, and our setup was different. So when I didn't like something, I was just like, hey, we're gonna change this, let's go. And now it's definitely, this is really cool because we're all on a level playing field, like Harrison said. So I guess just being sensitive to each other's needs, and even if you're frustrated with how a scene is going, with the way that rehearsal's going that day, if lines aren't ready, if the blocking isn't working, to just be patient and accepting, and I guess just let it happen organically. Like, I was really worried about this show on Monday, not gonna lie. I was so scared, but I'm really excited now. It opens tomorrow, and I'm like, we're ready. And it's been 4 days, and the growth that we've seen over the last 4 days, it's mind-blowing. It could have been a month over the last 4 days in regular theater world, but we're awesome, so we did it in 4 days.
I guess I would say to not be afraid to just put yourself out there and try something new. I had never written any scenes before, so that was a really neat experience, and I just wish I had done more. I wish I'd been more involved in a songwriting process, because that was something I hadn't ever done before. So I think it's just a really neat opportunity to get to do things that you wouldn't normally do. But then also, like Katie said, the schedule was very stressful for me, so I think just remembering that this takes a long time, and 2 months is very ambitious, but hey, we did it.
Mine is similar to Reagan's. I would say be bold, be confident, and that is really hard for me to put myself out there and to be like, hey, I wrote this scene, have fun tearing it to pieces. But you can't be afraid to do that. You have to accept that everyone has good intent and that everyone loves each other, and you have to work on it together, and you can't be afraid to contribute. that was a personal battle for me because I was really embarrassed. I was really nervous about putting forth my creative work, but like being on the other side of it, I'm really glad that I did. And I think that's a really important lesson for other more shy or easily embarrassed people out there, that just put yourself out there and like you won't regret it, because eventually like you will get somewhere with it and people will appreciate what you have to offer.
Yeah, this is a great question, and I actually have this not saying or mantra, but just something I told when I directed musical review, like I mentioned earlier, this past semester. Something I told my people in my theater group was, know the difference between fear and uncertainty, between being afraid and not being sure of things. Fear is something visceral. Fear is something from the gut. You should never be afraid to be right and to fight for what you want. You should also never be afraid to be wrong and to admit when you're wrong and to accept collaboration and accept outside input. And uncertainty is okay. We have no idea how opening night is going to go. We still have work to do, and that's okay. But there's something about being afraid that causes unwanted byproducts, I think, of just the psyche and how you handle a situation like this, because anything like this is going to be tough. So know what's in your power and what's not. Know what is just an unwarranted fear or something that is uncertain but that you can make certain. So that's my take on it.
Mine's a lot more practical. Set deadlines for yourself. Because as a college student, I know that I never work better than in the hour before something is due. This is my second experience, kind of is part of a collaborative writing team, sort of. I also did a VUT's 24-hour production, which is you write a play in 4 hours. It's not a 2-hour play, it's a 15-minute play, but I mean, I feel like I never got as good of work done as I did in that last half an hour of just, okay, we need to get this done. So just set yourself deadlines and you will meet them, and you'll probably, do some better writing when you're not thinking so hard about it and just letting it come to you.
What about you, Brian?
I would agree with everything that's been said. If there's any need to add anything, I might say just to make, like for directors or teachers out there that are thinking of doing this kind of work, to make open communication and sort of nurturing relationship the cornerstone of the work, because theater is inherently collaborative, and this original work kind of thing is much more so. So there has to be a trust and a sense of kind of positive energy, or it doesn't work somehow. It just doesn't work in a way that you can kind of, drag yourself through working on a previously performed and published play and just focus on your little piece of it. Like, I'm just designing or I'm just doing my role. But with an original piece, it's a relationship, actually, that's being sort of groomed and managed.
Well, I'm so excited about this, and thank you so much for sharing your work with us today, and please come see it. It's going to be fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.